It's kind of a good time to be a hockey YouTuber at this stage, because with all the stories, all the rumors, all the prospects going out there and starting out hot, there are just too many things to talk about, and as a result, a video like this, which we're talking about stuff that actually happened over the weekend, is probably going to be coming out in the middle of the week rather than immediately after the games played that we're going to be talking about. There are just too many other rumors and interesting stories that I wanted to talk about too, but as I had said a few videos ago, part of why this story is being pushed into the middle of the week is because, straight up, we can do it. It's appropriate here. And the reason for that is because today, we are talking about two guys playing for the BU Terriers in the NCAA. We're talking about Montreal Canadiens top prospect Lane Hutson, as well as a guy who was recently appointed as his new D partner, Tom Willander, Vancouver Canucks prospect. Now, as I said, part of the reason we're talking about this in the middle of the week rather than at the weekend is because there were just too many other things to talk about, and because the NCAA follows a very strict schedule, they only play their games on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It means that for a good chunk of days, there are no games played throughout the middle of the week as these players go to classes and actually do, college stuff because they're technically in college. This makes it easier for us to plan out schedules when talking about prospects in the NCAA because you know that the stats and stuff of what happens on the weekend is not going to be outdated by the time Wednesday or Thursday comes around. But today, we are talking about the way their seasons have gone on ever since the start of 23-24. Let's start out by talking about Lane Hutson, the guy who was lighting the NCAA on fire last season and who had come into this season with a chip on his shoulder. Lane Hutson, to start out the season, has 2 games played, and he's got a goal and an assist. Meanwhile, Tom Willander only has 1 game played, but in that 1 game played, he has had a goal and an assist as well. If you are wondering about what happened, because Tom Willander played in the SHL last year, which he technically didn't, he technically suited up for those games, but he didn't actually play. Because there's 2 games played at the Pro League in the SHL level on his resume, Tom Willander was not allowed to play in the first game of the NCAA season, which is why he actually had to sit out. Now, the interesting thing that you're going to notice about the BU Terriers this year is that Hutson is at 2 games played and Willander is at 1. However, there are 3 games that were played by this Terriers team throughout the past few days. The first game against Bentley was a 3-2 overtime win for BU, that in which the overtime goal was scored by Lane Hutson. And then the game on Friday last week against the New Hampshire University team was a 6-4 loss. However, this US NTDP team played against BU as well on October 14th, Saturday, and the Terriers lost 8-2. There are 3 games here, but technically that US NTDP game was an exhibition game, so there weren't really too many stakes. If you go over to the roster of the NTDP versus BU on Saturday, you'll see that Cole Hutson had a bunch of goals, so did Cole Yzerman, so Hutson, of course, is Lane Hutson's younger brother, and of course Yzerman is a top prospect for this year's upcoming draft. However, when it comes to our guys that we're talking about in this video, Lane Hutson and Tom Willander, they didn't score any points in this exhibition game, but because it was exhibition, those totals, even the game played, isn't even registered on their elite prospect stats. So if we go over to the game played that was not this NTDP game, the Friday game against New Hampshire was a really interesting one. It was a 6-4 loss, as we had talked about, and if you go over the goals that were scored, the first one, scored by Luke Tuck, was actually assisted by Vancouver Canucks prospect Tom Willander. In fact, it was his first shift of the game. Here's Daniel G on Twitter that went out there and summarized the clip. After a spin pass on the point, Willander works laterally and feathers a puck on net, and it looks like it's Luke Tuck who ends up getting the tip. The video is included on Daniel's Twitter account, but Willander is there doing some pretty good things, going into the middle of the ice, taking good shots, and really using his time to make sure he's got the right lane to shoot at. It results in a goal for Luke Tuck and a primary assist for Willander, so I think it's clear to say that his NCAA career has gotten off to a great start. As the game went on, though, you saw New Hampshire battle back, eventually take a 2-1 lead, and then you had some other guys coming back and charging things back up for the Terriers. Macklin Celebrini scored a goal, which is great because he's the projected first overall pick. And then, near the end of the first period, you had Tom Willander actually score himself, giving the Terriers the 3-2 lead. Take a look at this goal. It's a 3-on-2 rush for the Terriers, where Vancouver Canucks prospect Aiden Celebrini is the guy who is walking it down, and he centers it right into the middle for, guess who, Tom Willander, who hammers down the one-timer into the back of the net. This is a right-handed, offensively minded defenseman who is not afraid to join the rush, and who's not afraid to take shots on goal. Willander, I'm not going to say he's like Jonathan Lekkerimäki out there, just potting goals left, right, and center, but he does have a pretty good windup, and he has had some great shooting opportunities so far. As this game against New Hampshire went on, though, you saw BU give up a bunch more goals. Luke Reed scored, so did Morgan Winters, he did it twice, and then Macklin Celebrini in the second period brings the Terriers within one. This goal was assisted by Lane Hutson, as well as Aiden Celebrini, who was a Vancouver Canucks prospect too. And then you had yourselves the third period, wherein Kristaps Skratsins scores to make it 6-4. That is the final score of the game. Interesting to note, though, about the development in this New Hampshire showcase for BU, Tom Willander initially started the game out on the third pair, but as the game kept on going and as the score got a little bit further away, they actually did start playing Hutson with Willander. They moved the pairings so that you had the two guys that are arguably the most complementary types of skill sets playing together. While they didn't make up super amazing highlight reel plays, just the fact that the Terriers were trying it out and were putting their players in a position for that to happen, that in itself is a good thing. And this is what I was saying the entire time. I guess you could say, oh yeah, Lane Hutson was already pretty good. What are you making this video for, Lego? Well, here's the thing. Tom Willander is a really nice defensively minded guy who's got some snarl to his game. He's not afraid to get in the face of his opponent, and in his own zone, he can really be a nice physical presence out there. So for Lane Hutson to pair up with a guy who is as defensively responsible as Willander, and who can also chip in offensively like Willander has, I mean 2 points, 1 game played, definitely not bad in the slightest, for this to be the pairing, it could be a really great complementary type of skill set here for either of these guys. Willander could work on his offense because he could be building off of what Lane Hutson has, and Hutson could be supported on the back end by Tom Willander and his under-the-skin type of defending style. And I get it, you had the exhibition game against the NTDP wherein things didn't really go all too well, but I mean, it was exhibition. What are you going to do? The stats don't even count. It's not really the most important game in the world here for the BU Terriers. What we got to do now, though, is wait until this upcoming weekend, where on Friday and Saturday, the BU Terriers are playing against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and we're going to see how exactly the pairings go there. So if you're a Canucks fan, if you're a Canadiens fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this pairing right here? Tom Willander and Lane Hutson. If you're a Boston University Terriers fan, or you're a BU student who ends up watching the games, what are your thoughts on how these guys performed in their early starts? Lane Hutson, of course, having a 1 point per game is not ideal. You'd like him to have a little bit more, but still, I mean, the guy scored the overtime goal in the first game against Bentley, so I think it's all right. He's been doing okay. Tom Willander is at 2 points in a game, and hopefully he'll be able to continue that scoring pace as the season goes on, although, I mean, literally 2 points a game is tough to match. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Willander and Lane Hutson. Canadiens fans, Canucks fans, how do you think this is going to impact their developments? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.